Welcome to Straight Up Sports, the podcast, episode 5. Please like and subscribe and share with all your friends. Okay, so today's episode is going to be college basketball. We're about a month away from Selection Sunday. It's where they select the 68 teams and everyone gets bracketed and everyone goes gambling and has a good time. I'm going to try to get you guys caught up as much as I can on the bracket. I'm also going to discuss an incident that happened today in the Duke-Wake Forest game. Involving court storming and an injury of a player. I'll get to that later. All right, so just to recap to this point. So remember last year, UConn ended up winning the national championship. They defeated San Diego State in the final. The other two participants in the Final Four, Florida Atlantic and Miami, both first-time participants. Miami led, of course, by Jim Larinaga. Florida Atlantic led by Dusty May. San Diego State by Brian Dutcher, and of course Connecticut led by Danny Hurley. So UConn looking to go back-to-back for the first time since the Florida Gators in 2006, 2007. I was actually at the 2006 Final Four in Indianapolis, which was the first of their back-to-backs with Joakim Noah, Al Horford, and Corey Brewer, led by head coach Billy Donovan, who's now the head coach of the Chicago Bulls. All right, so let's see if I can get you guys caught up here. So I'll start with the big conferences, and then I'll make my way to the smaller ones. Most of the smaller conferences are one-bid leagues. So like I said, there's 68 teams. There's 36 at-large teams, 32 conference bids. So whoever wins their conference tournament automatically qualifies for the NCAA tournament. Then there's 36 at-large teams, so it's the next best 36 teams based on their resume. So what's their resume? Basically, who they beat and who they lost to. There are different metrics that the NCAA selection committee looks at, potentially. The KenPom index, which is an offense and defense efficiency metric. The BPI, which is a basketball power index that is made by ESPN. The NET, which is the NCAA's evaluation tool. That is the quadrant system. Basically determines how quality of a win you are based on your ranking, which is pretty flawed. Then you have their resume metrics, which is strength of record, another metric made by ESPN, and the KPI, which is made by a Michigan State graduate whose name is escaping me right now. But basically, you want to have good in both, and that gets you in. They don't take any averages or anything like that. The metrics play a very small part. It's more like a sorting tool. It's what the NCAA will tell you, is it's more like a sorting tool. I think it's fascinating to look at. You know, it's a computer model. It's based on, different algorithms and stuff. Kind of just tells you, where your team stands. But there are some teams that have a great resume and terrible predictive metrics, and great predictive metrics that have a terrible resume. That's why they're on the bubble. Teams like Gonzaga, Villanova. So we'll get into all of it. But I'll start in the ACC. So again, I'm a Syracuse alum. Of course, this is the conference that my team resides in. They will likely not be in the tournament. But in terms of the ACC, they're probably going to get 5 teams in. You'll get North Carolina, led by Hubert Davis. Remember, last year they didn't make the tournament. They were preseason number 1, and they lost and did not get in. Duke will be in the NCAA tournament. There's no question about it. It's just a matter of what seed they're going to be. Clemson will be in. Remember, last year they didn't get in either. Brad Brownell kind of given an ultimatum for his job. Got Joe Girard, the transfer from Syracuse. Looks like they're going to get in as well. Virginia, led by Tony Bennett, done a tremendous job there. He's one of the best coaches of all time. Virginia sliding right now, but right now they are in at the moment. They kind of have to get it together. They're struggling on the offensive end. And then Wake Forest, who had a huge win today at home over Duke. Pretty sure that probably at least secured Dayton for them. Dayton meaning the first 4 of the games that are played on Tuesday night of the NCAA tournament, which nobody watches unless there are big names there. That's kind of how that goes. The rest of the ACC, I don't see it. Pitt and Syracuse are probably your next 2 teams on the list. Both of those teams, I don't see them getting in. Then you got Florida State, Virginia Tech, NC State, Boston College, Miami, Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, and Louisville. Miami's been a real disappointment. They were a Final Four team last year, ranked going into the year this year, and they have just fallen apart, have dealt with some injuries and just some different things going on, and Miami just has not had it this year. But I think the ACC will end up with 5 teams this year. Okay, Big 12. So they allow 4 new teams into the league: Houston, BYU, Cincinnati, and Central Florida. Houston's going to be a number 1 seed. I mean, people thought this team was going to struggle because they were coming from the American Conference, which was kind of like a reject conference. And Houston's done nothing but absolutely kill it. They're 11-3 in conference play, 24-3 overall, and they're probably a top 3 team in the country. I mean, Jamal Shedd's been great, their point guard. They got an LJ Cryer from Baylor. Houston has done a tremendous job. I think Kelvin Sampson, this might be his best coaching job he's ever done. Then, of course, Iowa State, led by TJ Otzelberger. They were preseason picked 7th to win in the league, and they're in 2nd place. They're 6th in the country. They beat Houston at home, almost beat Houston on the road. Iowa State is going to be a dangerous team come the NCAA tournament. Then there's Kansas, of course, won 2 years ago. Kansas, might have the best starting 4 in the country, led by DeJuan Harris, led by Hunter Dickinson, the Michigan transfer, KJ Adams, and Kevin McCullough, who transferred from Texas Tech a couple of years ago. Then you have Baylor, of course, led by Scott Drew, done a great job. They have an NBA draft pick in Jacoby Walter. You've got Texas Tech, led by first-year head coach Grant McCasland, who came from North Texas, done a phenomenal job with point guard Pops Isaac. Oklahoma, led by Porter Moser. They just won at the buzzer today over Oklahoma State. Huge win for them. They needed it. BYU, Mark Pope's done a great job. They kind of came out of nowhere because they were really a doormat of the league, and they now likely will be in the tournament. And then Texas, led by Rodney Terry. Remember, he was an interim coach last year for them after Chris Beard was fired due to a domestic assault issue with a woman. And then he comes in. Texas goes on this huge run, the Elite Eight. They lose to Miami, and then Texas, and now Rodney Terry gets the extension. Texas now looks like a tournament team. Teams that probably won't get in: Kansas State. Remember last year they were in with Marquise Noel. Naquan Tomlin, their center, was kicked off the team. He ended up going to Memphis. Cincinnati, they were in it for a while. They have faded recently, but Wes Miller's done a really good job. Central Florida, Johnny Dawkins' group, they just beat Texas Tech today at home. But Central Florida has some really good wins. They beat Kansas. And then Oklahoma State and West Virginia are rounding out the Big 12. Okay, the Big East. So I know a lot of my viewers are Big East folks. So start with UConn. Of course, they won last year. 15-2 in conference play. Haven't lost at home all year. Then you got Marquette, led by Shaka Smart, maybe the best point guard in the country, and Tyler Kolek's done a great job there. Creighton, who I think is a Final Four sleeper team no one's talking about, led by Trey Alexander and Ryan Kalkbrenner. Greg McDermott's the head coach here, father of Doug McDermott. And then the Big East becomes a bubble league when you look at teams like Seton Hall, Providence, Villanova, Xavier, and St. John's, and Butler. To me, Xavier, too many injuries. Sean Miller is a phenomenal coach, but their record just doesn't speak for itself right now. They've been dealing with some injuries, and Sean Miller's been rumored to maybe go to Ohio State. I don't think he'll take it, but maybe, who knows. So unfortunately for Xavier, I don't see a tournament this year. St. John's, they got off to an okay start, and they just never recovered. Rick Pitino had a press conference where he called everybody out, and then he had to apologize for it. Pretty ugly there in Queens. I don't see the Johnnies getting in this year. Villanova, interesting team. Some great wins and some terrible losses. There are some people saying that Villanova needs to get to 18 wins to get in. Right now they are at 15. So their last 4 games are Georgetown, Seton Hall, Providence, and Creighton. The Seton Hall, Providence, Creighton stretch is brutal. Now remember, they beat Creighton. I don't think they're beating Creighton a second time. So to me, you got to go on the road to Seton Hall and Providence is an impossible arena to win in. Okay? They got to win 3 of 4 to get in the tournament, or they don't get in. I don't think they get in. I think they come up short. Providence, I think they'll get in. They've played really well recently. Kim English in his first year replacing Ed Cooley has done an awesome job. Even after they lost their best player, Bryce Hopkins, to an ACL injury, they've done a tremendous. Devin Carter's been awesome for Providence. And then Seton Hall, led by Kadari Richmond, who was a Syracuse transfer a couple years ago. Shaheen Holloway's done a great job. Remember, he was at St. Peter's when they got to the Elite Eight before they were knocked out. Seton Hall should get in. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't. They beat UConn. They beat Marquette. They just beat Butler tonight. And then Butler, I don't think they'll get in. They've lost 4 in a row. They were in it for a while. They are fading now. This is a wrong time to be fading. So Butler, to me, will probably be an NIT team this year. So that puts it at 5 for the Big East. Okay, let's go to the Big Ten. Start with Purdue, right? Lost in the first round last year to Fairleigh Dickinson. Probably the biggest upset in tournament history. Zach Edey, National Player of the Year, probably going to do it again this year. They have a great backcourt with Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer, and then, of course, Lance Jones, who they got from Southern Illinois, and then their glue guy in Mason Gillis. Illinois, likely going to get in this year with Brad Underwood at the helm there. Another Syracuse transfer in Quincy Guerrier, who was also at Oregon. Terrence Shannon's been dealing with some off-the-court stuff, but he's been playing better for them. Illinois is a dangerous team, but my only concern with Illinois is they don't really have a true point guard. We'll have to see how that holds up. Wisconsin got off to a great start this year. They've kind of hit a rut recently. Probably overachieved to that point, but I do think Wisconsin will be in the tournament, but I think they're going to be a trendy upset first-round pick. Just because they play a unique style. They tend to play really slow. I know they've played more up-tempo this year, but I still think Wisconsin's going to be a trendy upset pick. Northwestern, what a job by Chris Collins. Former assistant to Mike Krzyzewski. He's done a great job with Boo Buie. Might be the best name in the sport, honestly. Boo Buie's been tremendous for them at the point guard position. Northwestern should get in for the second straight year. Nebraska, led by Fred Hoiberg, former coach at Iowa State, played in the NBA for the Timberwolves. Fred Hoiberg's done a really good job. Tominaga's been awesome for them. Nebraska's going to be a tournament team. And then Michigan State, of course, led by Tom Izzo. They've had a disappointing year by their standards, but as long as they're in the tournament, I don't think you can really rule them out to go on a run because of the coach and how he's done in this NCAA tournament. Maybe not in terms of winning championships, just in terms of winning games in the tournament. He's done a tremendous job. They're going to be a dangerous team. Like if I'm a 2 seed or I'm a 1 seed, I don't want to see Michigan State because I am going to be scared out of my mind to play Tom Izzo. Okay, disappointing teams in the Big Ten. Michigan, 3-13 in conference play. Juwan Howard, I don't see how you keep him. He's had a lot of issues off the court. Ohio State fired Chris Holtmann about 2 weeks ago. I don't see Ohio State going anywhere this year. Maryland, preseason top 25 team. Kevin Willard in year 1 left Seton Hall. They've struggled. Indiana, 6-10. Probably got to let Mike Woodson go. Probably going to have to go hire Dusty May at Florida Atlantic. Rutgers, probably looking ahead to next year when they have the 2 of the top freshmen in the country coming in. So not really concerned about Rutgers. Iowa, led by Fran McCaffrey, made a little bit of a run recently, won at Michigan State, just lost tonight to Illinois. Penn State and Minnesota probably won't be in this year, but I think both teams have taken some strides. Year 1 for Mike Rhodes at Penn State after leaving VCU, and year 2 for Ben Johnson at Minnesota. Both of those teams have taken some steps towards next season. Let's go to the Mountain West. Again, a conference that most people don't talk about. Danny Sprinkle, what a job he's done at Utah State. Brought nobody back. I mean, he didn't have one player. Okay, he left Montana State to take the job at Utah State after Ryan Odom left to take the job at VCU, after Mike Rhodes left the job to take at Penn State, after Micah Shrewsbury left the job to go to Notre Dame, after Mike Bray left. Okay, that was the domino. And Danny Sprinkle brings in great Asabor, and they've just done a tremendous job. I mean, the fact that they're 10-4 in the league in year 1 is remarkable. He probably deserves Coach of the Year. Will he get it? I don't know. He's in the Mountain West. Probably won't get much popularity from the national media. Hopefully he does. I think he absolutely should be the front runner for it, probably. But we'll see how the media decides to vote. Boise State, led by Leon Rice. They've done a tremendous job this year. Nevada, led by Steve Alford, done a tremendous job. They're going to be in the tournament. San Diego State, of course, last year was in the finals. Brian Dutcher's group, they'll be in again. New Mexico, led by Richard Pitino, son of Rick Pitino. That guard trio might be the best in the country. Donovan Dent, Jamal Mashburn Jr., son of course, of the NBA player Jamal Mashburn, and Jalen House, son of Eddie House. New Mexico's got a dangerous team, but they just lost today at Air Force. I got to wonder if they're back now on the bubble. I had them as a 9 seed. Now they're probably more towards a back-end 10, maybe even an 11. Just that loss is killer. Air Force coming into the game only had 1 conference win. 1. Now they have 2. Huge loss for New Mexico. And then Colorado State should get in. Nico Medved's done a great job. Had them ranked really high. They kind of fell off a little bit. One of the best point guards in the country in Isaiah Stevens. One of the best. Runs an offense beautifully. Great passer. I mean, just really good. Colorado State, I have a feeling, will be a trendy pick for some people. I don't know if I trust their team outside of Stevens, but I got to tell you, he's pretty good. Okay, Pac-12. So as we know, this league is disbanding after this year. All of these teams are going to different conferences. So you've got Arizona, you've got Colorado, you've got Arizona State, and you've got Utah all going to the Big 12. You've got Washington State and Oregon State going to the WCC for basketball and the Mountain West for football. Then you've got Oregon, UCLA, Washington, and USC all going to the Big 10. And then you have Stanford and Cal going to the ACC. So you have 2 California schools in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Yeah, try explaining that one. So Arizona leading the league. They weren't yesterday. They are today. Why? Washington State beat them on Thursday night, and then Washington State lost today at Arizona State. The Fighting Bobby Hurley's got a big one. But Arizona and Washington State, to me, are the only 2 teams that are going to be in the field for the Pac-12. Oregon lost to Cal today. They're done. UCLA has disappointed this year. Colorado, people thought were going to finish second. They're currently sitting in 5th. Cal, Mark Madsen, what a job in year 1. The former LA Laker who was dancing on the stage, what a job he's done at Cal in year 1. Arizona State, Bobby Hurley, might have to move on there. Utah's been disappointing. Washington and Mike Hopkins, they're probably going to part ways as well. Stanford and Jared Haas, they're probably going to part ways as well. Remember, all these teams are going into new conferences. So if you're going to fire a coach, this is the year to do it. USC, Andy Enfield, they were projected to do great things. But Bronny James had cardiac arrest. You had Isaiah Collier, who was the number 1 pick in the draft. He ended up getting hurt. Boogie Ellis, preseason player of the year, he ended up getting hurt. So USC just kind of had a lot of things happen to them. And then Oregon State with Wayne Tinkle, I mean, they were never going to be good. But the Pac-12 is going to get 2 in Arizona and Washington State. Wazoo's really good. Miles Rice could be freshman of the year in that league. I just don't know. Again, they're not really a known name. I have to wonder how they're going to do in the tournament. I'm curious. This is a team I'm interested to watch and see how they do in the tournament. Okay, SEC. So, at the top, Tennessee, number 5 in the country, led by Dalton Knecht, transfer from Northern Colorado. Rick Barnes doing another great job. But we all know the problem with Tennessee. It's the NCAA tournament. They have struggled there over the years. Last year, they lost to Florida Atlantic in the Sweet 16. Curious to see how Tennessee does this year. They have Dalton Knecht's a superstar. I mean, he is so good, knows how to score, can score he's a 3-level scorer, right? 3-point line, mid-range, basket. Very good player. Zakai Ziegler's the key, though. He was hurt last year. Remember, he tore his ACL last year. He's going to be key for Tennessee if they want to go anywhere. Then we got Alabama. Got blown out today at Rupp. They didn't even show up defensively. Mark Sears, Jalen Brunson Jr., as I like to call him. Lefty, wears number 1. Tough. Nate Oates is a really good coach. I could see Nate Oates honestly coaching in the NBA one day because of the style of play that he has. Alabama's a great offensive team. They struggle defensively. It's only going to last for so long in the tournament. Then you got Auburn, led by Bruce Pearl. That team plays so hard. They won today at Georgia pretty comfortably. Auburn, they're kind of a weird team because they haven't done well against the elite teams, but they've dominated the lower level. So I think they're kind of like a second-round exit team, but we'll see how it goes. South Carolina, coach of the year for me, Lamont Paris. Projected to finish last in the league. They're currently in a tie for 3rd with Auburn. Auburn has the tiebreaker because Auburn just blew them out by 40. Lamont Paris has done an awesome job. And I think he absolutely should get considered for the Ohio State job. He's from Findlay, Ohio. He was an assistant under Bo Ryan at Wisconsin. So I think he'd be a great fit there. Ohio State thinks they're going to get a big name because they're Ohio State. I don't know if it happens. And a lot of it comes down to NIL money. It's just, how much money do you have to pay these players? And I think Lamont would be a great fit there. Okay, then there's Florida, my sleeper team to potentially make a deep run in the tournament, led by Walter Clayton, the Iona transfer. Todd Golden's done a great job in year 2. I can't stress enough how good he's done. He was at San Francisco, comes into Florida. Everyone thinks, when you go to Florida, the problem is they can always compare you to Billy Donovan. Nobody will ever be Billy Donovan ever again. It's like Mike Krzyzewski at Duke, Roy Williams at Carolina, Jim Calhoun at Connecticut. Now Danny Hurley, you might catch him. But Jim Boeheim at Syracuse, Bob Knight at Indiana, John Wooden at UCLA. These guys are one of one. Like Florida, you got to stop comparing them because it's different. Okay, Todd Golden's done a great job. I think that team has Sweet 16 potential. They're really good. Kentucky blew out Alabama today, lost to LSU the last game. So Kentucky, the struggle for them has been defense. Their offense is talented. Rob Dillingham and Reed Shepard are top 10 NBA draft picks in my opinion. Antonio Reeves is a potential All-American candidate. They got to defend better. If they can defend, they can absolutely go to the Final Four because offensively they are so gifted. But defensively, they're not that good. We'll see how it goes for Kentucky. Again, the NCAA tournament, it's all about path. It's all about matchups. It's who are you playing, when are you playing them, how far do they have to travel, all these different things factor in. Then you got Mississippi State, led by Chris Jans, who was at New Mexico State prior to coming here. He's done a really nice job. I expect them to be in. And honestly, that might be it for the SEC. So right there, that's 7 teams. A lot of people thought it could be 9. But Ole Miss losing today to South Carolina, they're probably out. Texas A&M, they got swept by Arkansas and lost to Vanderbilt. I can't see anyone going in after you lost to Vanderbilt. Sorry. Buzz Williams, going to have a new athletic director after Ross Bjork took the job at Ohio State. Chris Beard is in year 1 at Ole Miss, so I think he's done a nice job there. LSU has been playing better recently, but they're not a tournament team led by Matt McMahon, who they got from Murray State a couple years ago. Georgia probably won't be a tournament team. Mike White, who left Florida to come there. Eric Musselman in Arkansas have been a massive disappointment. And then, of course, Vandy in Missouri, led by Jerry Stackhouse and Dennis Gates, respectively. All right, so that's the power conferences. I'm going to go through the small ones relatively quickly because I do want to get to the court storming issue with Kyle Filipowski. All right, so a lot of these leagues are going to be one-bid leagues, a bunch of them. So the Atlantic Sun, one-bid league. Right now, if it started today, it would be Eastern Kentucky. America East, it would be Vermont. Again, Vermont is dominating that league. The American, here's an interesting conference. So the top of the league was Florida Atlantic and Memphis. Everyone thought it was going to be those 2 teams and only those 2 teams. Well, guess what? South Florida is leading the conference at 13-1. Amir Abdul-Rahim has done an awesome job. He was at Kennesaw State last year. Remember, they almost beat Xavier in the first round. Xavier ended up getting to the Sweet 16 after Pitt beat Iowa State in that first round, after Pitt won a play-in game against Mississippi State. So, South Florida, what a job by Amir Abdul-Rahim. Should get Coach of the Year consideration. Again, probably won't, but done a tremendous job there. Florida Atlantic is in second. They're 2 games behind. Memphis is in 6th. They have 6 conference losses to teams like SMU, Rice, Tulane. Memphis has really struggled in this league this year. I don't think they're going to fire Penny Hardaway, but definitely a cause for concern if you're a Memphis fan. I think Florida Atlantic will be in. It's a matter of, does South Florida win the league? Does somebody else win the league? Because then it steals a bubble bid from one of those teams. So we'll see how that plays out. The A10, Dayton, 16th ranked in the country this week. They're not leading their league. Right now, Richmond and Loyola Chicago are tied at the top. Drew Valentine, the brother of Denzel Valentine, who played at Michigan State, done a tremendous job. They've won 7 straight. Richmond, led by Chris Mooney, who had a heart surgery at the end of last year. They're 12-2. Richmond and Loyola are playing really well right now. Dayton is, kind of having their issues, but they're still really good. Deron Holmes is one of the best players in the country. I think VCU is dangerous. I think UMass, led by Frank Martin, is dangerous. Even George Mason, led by Tony Skinn, The A10, it's not a deep tournament league, but it's got teams that will be involved in the NIT and postseason play. It's not a bad league. Okay, the Big Sky, Eastern Washington, one bid league. The Big South, High Point, one bid league. The Big West, UC Irvine and UC San Diego are tied for the lead. UC Irvine's a better team, one bid league. The CAA, sorry, I almost said the Colonial. It's the Coastal Athletic Association now. Charleston, one bid league. Remember last year they played San Diego State in the first round. Conference USA, Sam Houston State and Louisiana Tech are both tied for the lead. One bid league. The Horizon League, led by the Oakland Golden Grizzlies, one bid league. Now, if you're going to watch a conference tournament, the Ivy League, keep an eye on the Ivy League. Yale, Princeton, Cornell, all 9-2. Brian Earl, Mitch Henderson, and James Jones have all done a tremendous job at their respective programs. Brian Earl at Cornell, Mitch Henderson at Princeton, James Jones at Yale. All three guys have done a tremendous job. All three guys probably deserve a higher level job. No disrespect to the Ivy League. Cornell is 20-5, Princeton's 21-3, Yale's 18-8. Unfortunately, I think it's a one bid league. If you had me put my money on it, I'll take Princeton to win the league. Remember last year they went to the Sweet 16 after beating Arizona and Missouri. So I will take Princeton to win that league. And the MAAC, I actually watched this game last night, Quinnipiac and Fairfield. I was really impressed with Fairfield. They're really good. Half a game behind Quinnipiac. Another former Syracuse player, Bryson Goodine, was on Fairfield. Thought he was the key to the whole game. He was tremendous. I think Quinnipiac, though, is probably the best team in that league, one bid league. The MAC, Akron, one bid league. Watched that game last night after they beat Kent State in a rivalry game. The MEAC, Norfolk State, Robert Jones continues to do a tremendous job there. The Missouri Valley, you've got Indiana State leading the league right now. Remember, they were ranked at one time and then lost to Illinois State and just fell off a cliff. And now they've gotten it back together. Drake lost to Northern Iowa today. Drake is probably done in terms of an at-large bid. This is going to end up being a one-bid league, unfortunately. The Northeast Conference, Merrimack has a one-game lead on Central Connecticut. Merrimack, better overall record. I assume they're going to be the bid. In the Ohio Valley, there is a three-way tie at the top between Little Rock, Morehead State, and UT Martin. I like Morehead State. I actually got a chance to watch them almost beat Indiana at Assembly Hall. I'll take Morehead State to win that league. The Patriot League, the dominance of Colgate continues. Matt Lango has done an awesome job. I don't know why he hasn't gotten Power 5 consideration. I don't know why he hasn't gotten a job. Maybe it's money. Maybe it's something else. That guy absolutely deserves a Power 5 job. No question about it. Colgate's one of the hardest jobs in the country. Hamilton, New York is literally in the middle of nowhere. Okay, the SoCon. Samford, the job that they've done, Samford Bulldogs, 14-2 in conference play. You want to find a double-digit seed upset? Here's your team. Samford, okay? You heard it here first. Samford Bulldogs are winning a tournament game, all right? McNeese, out of the Southland, are winning a tournament game. Coached by Will Wade, former LSU coach who had some recruiting issues. Now everything's legal. At the time, it wasn't legal. They're going to win a tournament game. You know how many games in a row they've won? 5. They're 24-3. That's ridiculous. I don't care what league you're in. That's insane. The SWAC, Southern and Grambling. Grambling, one-game lead on Southern. Southern won at Mississippi State this year. Give me Southern to win that league. Summit League, South Dakota State. Remember, Nate Walters was there many years ago. Some of you might remember him. South Dakota State wins the Summit League. The Sun Belt, great league. Really good league this year. App State, James Madison, Troy, Arkansas State. Former Nate Oates assistant's done a tremendous job there. Southern Miss, led by Andre Curbelo, Illinois transfer, and St. John's transfer. And then, of course, Louisiana Raging Cajuns, one of the best home courts in the country. James Madison, to me, is the best team in this league. They won at Michigan State this year. Appalachian State beat Auburn in their own building. They didn't do it at Auburn, though. James Madison won at Michigan State. I like JMU to win this league. James Madison's not going to get in that large bid. They've got to win the Sun Belt. The WAC, Grand Canyon's been the best team. I know they've lost 2 in a row. Give me Grand Canyon to win that league. They have an NBA prospect on their roster. Bryce Drew's done an awesome job. Deserves another Power 5 opportunity after Vanderbilt let him go after going 0-18 in their league. He deserves another opportunity. And then the WCC, the Gonzaga-St. Mary's story continues. St. Mary's 13-0 in the league. Gonzaga 11-2 in the league. I actually think Gonzaga is going to win the league. I think they're going to win not the league. They're going to win the conference tournament. St. Mary's will win the regular season. I think Gonzaga wins the WCC, and Mark Few gets them back in the tournament again. So that's the picture, I guess you could say, for the season. Now, in terms of the bracketology with the seeding and everything, it gets interesting. If you look at the bubble right now, Wake Forest, like I said, they were on the bubble. They're going to be in after beating Duke today. Ole Miss lost to South Carolina. They're probably going to be out of most people's brackets. Drake's going to be out after they lost Northern Iowa. Utah's going to be out after their loss to Colorado. Gonzaga won. They're probably in now. Colorado, they creep back into the picture. Villanova lost to UConn. Oregon lost to Cal. I think Seton Hall's in great shape after beating Butler today. They're looking more and more like a tournament team. Texas A&M lost again today to Tennessee. They're done. Syracuse is interesting. My alma mater beat Notre Dame after almost blowing a 29-point lead. I don't think they're going to get there. I think they got to win out, probably win 6-7 in a row to probably get there. I think they end up in the NIT, but it'd be it's a really good start though for Red Autry in year one. But they got to field 68 teams, so someone's got to fill it. So we'll see how it all shakes out. If you're just trying to get into college basketball for the first time, I know some of you, get interested in this stuff. Field is 68. Okay, let me just tell you, it's a YouTube channel. I've interacted with some of the guys there on YouTube and stuff like that and Twitter. They have great people there. Jeff Goodman and Rob Doster created the brand. Jeff Goodman is an insider. Rob Doster, I believe, worked for NBC. I could be wrong. They hired some great people there, though. Terrence Oglesby's a superstar in the making. The guy's awesome. Randolph Childress, who actually did the Syracuse Notre Dame game today, I thought he was great. Does a really good job breaking down some things. Tyler Hansbrough, who a lot of you will know, former North Carolina Tar Heel, one of the best players to ever play college basketball. John Henson, another former North Carolina player, played in the NBA for a little bit with the Bucks, and I believe he also played for the Cavs. And they have a bevy of other people. John Fanta, of course, is maybe the best play-by-play guy in the game. Does a lot of the Big East games. Highly recommend it. If you just want to get a feel for the sport, maybe you want to get into it more, go watch their stuff. They put up content all the time. They have live streams. I believe it's every night at 11 p.m. on YouTube. They do a tremendous job. They go over all the games from the schedule of that day, and then they usually preview games during the week. They also have an after the stream ends, they also have a live 30-minute chat where they talk to fans and stuff. So it's pretty cool. They've done a really good job. I happen to like what they do. It's really awesome. It's great because I don't have to put on television. Not that I don't love Jay Billis and Seth Greenberg and those guys, but I get some different perspectives from guys I don't really know, and that's always great. And the fact that they interact with fans, I think, is really cool. That platform also has some podcasts of some certain schools. I think they have a bunch of them. I know Syracuse has one there at Devendorf. North Carolina's got one. Villanova's got one. They probably have a bunch. And I'm sure most of you are fans of big schools. They probably have your stuff. Highly recommend it if you're into college basketball. That's where I would go. They do a great job there. I've interacted with Jeff Goodman once before in an email. Seemed like a really good dude. So highly recommend you guys go over there and read their stuff. Their Twitter account, they post stuff there all the time. They have a bracketology show if you're into the brackets. I believe it's on Mondays and Fridays at 5:30 on YouTube. That's also great. Some of those bracketologists know what they're doing. Lucas Harkins, Andy Bottoms. Those guys are great. They do a great job. All right, so that's pretty much it for the bracket. So I pretty much got you caught up. Now I want to discuss what happened today between Duke and Wake Forest. So going into the game, Wake Forest needed this game. Okay, Wake was just outside the tournament in most people's minds. Now they're in. They beat Duke 83-79. And Wake Forest fans stormed the court as, most teams do when they beat a ranked team. And Kyle Filipowski, one of Duke's better players, gets run over by a fan, ends up spraining his ankle, hurting his knee. He had some injury. And it was an unfortunate situation. And now the topic has come up about whether or not court storming should be banned in college basketball. There's a few layers to this, right? First of all, college basketball is the only sport where they court storm. You don't see it in football. You see it in football from time to time, but not as common as basketball. Pro sports, they don't do it. Here's the thing. Wake Forest security really dropped the ball here. They weren't ready. weren't prepared. The athletic director of Wake Forest claimed they practiced these things. Clearly didn't execute, that's for sure. Really just an unfortunate situation. Now remember, this happened a few weeks ago with Caitlin Clark at Iowa when she got bulldozed by a fan at Ohio State. I'm going to be honest, I think the only reason this situation is being talked about is because it's Duke and because it's Caitlin Clark. Like, if this had happened at some small school that nobody really pays attention to, I don't think we'd be talking about it. But the fact that it was Kyle Filipowski, who's an All-American player at the best college basketball tradition school in the country, Caitlin Clark, who's a generational talent, female Steph Curry, like, these are two big things in the sport, right? So we have to talk about it. There are some people that want it banned because obviously safety, and whenever a fan interacts with a player, it never ends well. Just look at Malice at the Palace. It just doesn't end well, right? And then the other argument is, well, if you get the players off the court, then you let the fans storm the court and it's not so bad. But then that kind of takes the excitement out of the court storming, right? Because you're delayed. I don't really care what they do, but they got to make it safer somehow, right? Because the student sections at most of these places, first of all, a lot of them are not sober. Okay, they're drinking. If the game's at 2 p.m., they've been drinking since 9:30, 10 in the morning. So a lot of these students are not sober. That's number one. So I think they probably, if they knew they were going to storm, which of course the students want to do it, right? That's what they want to do. First of all, it gives them a lot of memories, and it also just gives them an excuse to have fun. Look, they're going to talk about this a lot now. Every court storming, they're going to talk about it. I think everyone's going to learn from this now on the men's side. I think they looked at the Caitlin Clark incident as incidental contact. This was like a run-over freight train. I mean, like, these fans had no regard for Filipowski. None. I mean, they were just like, you're just in the way, get out of the way type thing. And they ran him over. I mean, it was like Adrian Peterson running over a linebacker. I mean, it was bad. But, look, Jon Scheyer in his press conference called for court storm banning. Part of that, too, though, is Duke really doesn't deal with court stormings, right? Like, they're never going to storm Cameron Indoor because they're always going to be at the top of the mountain every year. Again, like, I'm all for it. If they ban it, I'm not against it. You know, I get it from both sides, right? If they ban it, it's for player safety, coach safety, fan safety. I get it, right? If they want to keep it, you got to find a way to make it more, I guess safer. Yeah, I guess safer is the word. You want to make it safer, right? So get the players off the court, and we don't have to worry about it. I will say this, though. Duke was down 4, okay, with 1.8 left. Duke was not winning that game, all right? Yes, Jon Scheyer, as a coach, he's like, okay, we throw it 3/4 of the way down, we catch it, Jared McCain makes it 3, and he gets fouled. How likely is that to happen? Like 1 in a zillion? Like, he should have pulled those players off the court, said to Steve Forbes, hey, nice win, we're going to get off the court, we're going to get out of your way. You let the clock run out, get the players off, clock runs out, and they go nuts. That's what I would have done. But see, some coaches, and again, I don't know Jon Scheyer, I've never met him, seems like a great guy, but some coaches think that no matter how much time is on the clock, they think they can win. Like, they're down 15 with 20 seconds left. Oh my God, we could do it. The game was over. They were not beating Wake with 1.8 to go, down 4. They weren't winning that game, okay? Jon Scheyer should have told Steve Forbes, hey, good win, congratulations, we'll see you in the ACC tournament. We're going to go in the locker room and let you guys celebrate your win. Get them off the court, go in the locker room, let the fans storm, and everybody's happy, right? That's kind of how I see it. Now, look, Scheyer doesn't deserve a lot of blame here. A lot of this blame goes on Wake Forest's staff, security, operations. It was a disaster. It was so bad. I mean, that was as bad as it gets. Filipowski's going to be fine. Caitlin Clark ended up being okay. But I'm pretty convinced that if it wasn't Duke and it wasn't Caitlin Clark, I don't think we'd be talking about this. Seriously. Like, if it was, I'm going to throw out an example. If it was, I don't know, Quinnipiac and Fairfield, right? Not that either of them would storm the court against each other. But if that were to happen, I don't think we talk about it because they're not on national television every night. Duke's games are on every single night. They're on ESPN every night, okay? They were on ESPN today. They were on ESPN the last game. They're also on ACC Network. Like, Duke is on regularly, okay? So they are going to get national attention. Now, I get the idea, again, I get the idea of banning it, right? Everybody's safe. We don't have a problem. We don't do it in any other sport. You say you're good game, good game. The handshake line is ridiculous. I don't even know why they do that. But, good game, good game. You walk off, the end. Right? Just like any other basketball game. Right? We don't storm in CYO leagues and intramurals. And we don't storm in those leagues. We only storm in college basketball. Like I said, I'm for it either way. I think today was unfortunate. It's a good learning experience for a lot of schools. I think a lot of schools are going to go back and look at their plan and go, man, we better have a better one than what Wake had. Wake is an example, right? They're set as an example now, and, we'll see the next court storming because, again, a lot of ranked teams this year have lost to unranked teams on the road. So it's going to happen again. But I'm curious to see how the next court storming for a high major team gets dealt with. Duke's next opportunity for a court storming to get stormed on is at NC State. I think Duke will handle that game. NC State has not had a great season, but we'll see. You never know. NC State's kind of a difficult arena to play in, but I think Duke should handle that game. So that'll do it for this episode. I appreciate all the viewership, the liking, the subscribing, the sharing. I appreciate it. Next episode will probably be a March Madness update, and then I'll probably talk some hockey and basketball. Baseball, like I said, I don't really want to do it until the season starts. I know pitchers and catchers have reported. Probably not going to start until later. Golf, I'll do it when the Players starts. I believe that's in a few weeks. The Masters is later. But yeah, that's an episode. Thanks very much for listening. I know 42 minutes out of your day is not easy. I appreciate it though. It means a lot to me, and hopefully, you like all my other episodes. I'm gonna try to record some more here. Again, time constraints can be an issue, but it's currently 12:30 on Sunday, so I appreciate you again listening, and have a good night.